Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to post this video. It's 2 o'clock, about 2 o'clock in the morning, right before I just woke up out of a dream. Um, I'm not sure if I'm going to share this video. If you're watching this video, then be forewarned. This is sexually explicit. Um, if I do post, the reason would be is because I feel that one of two things or two things together, that this is going to help me figure out what's going on by getting this out into the world. Like, I know it's gonna, because I wrote what happened, and I'm not sure if I post this, it's going to be because I know it's going to help me break this ancestral curse or trauma, whatever's been going through my lineage. And by doing what I'm doing now, even if I don't post it, it's helping me. But if I do post it, it's because I feel like it will help me further, and that it will help others who feel that they have ancestral sexual trauma type evilness energy that's been passed down, that they've dealt with, that maybe came from their parents, grandparents. So for the past couple days, it's been coming into my head to make a video for my mom, right? And I'm not going to go into that video, like the details of that video, but it's not about my mom. It's going to be for my mom. And I'm going to read what I wrote. I went up to bed. I worked late and did things and posted a couple videos and stuff earlier. Well, last night. It's 1:40 in the morning, 1:50. And so I went to bed early. I went to bed like at 9:30, I think. Between 9 and 9:30, I went and laid down upstairs. I was tired and my body was restful. I could tell my body was actually ready to go to sleep. Like, I've had a hard time sleeping. I had 2 migraines this weekend. I was trying to figure out where they come from, and it kept on coming up ancestral. Like, I was moving ancestral energies through and out of me. And so I had this huge tension headache that was like all the way down here, all the way back here. And it was just like, it felt like so tight, And they were bad. They were really, really bad headaches, both Saturday and Sunday. And the reason I'm saying this, because I'm thinking that this is all tied in together. I got to grab some water. And so I laid down, at like between 9 and 9:30, probably closer to 9. And I was going to go to sleep, but then I was like, something hit me. I was like, man, it was like, I need to start, drawing out a rough draft of this video I'm going to make for my mom. It just came out of nowhere. Like, I got home, didn't even think about that, and it just came out of nowhere. And I was like, and I know when things come out of nowhere like that, like, I got to jump on it. It's time to take action, right? So I started writing, and I start off with, I remember you, with a colon, and then I made some notes under it. Said, laying in your bed and you reading to me, working puzzles, you coming home late the night you fell out of the Jeep, you and Dad arguing in a car, watching movies with you. And then I have a big gap there because I couldn't, like, nothing else came to mind. Like, I was getting like these thoughts of like all these childhood memories coming back, in like situations where I knew my mom was there, I could tell she was there. I could see her like outline, or like, what was that old cartoon where you would see all the people like up to here or whatever, but and you would hear their voice, but you'd never actually see their face. It was like that, you know? And I thought, man, that's really weird. I was like, why is my mom blocked out in all these childhood memories? So anyways, I just skipped. I left myself some space, and I just skipped down, because then these other things started hitting me. I wrote, seeing you faking being hit and screaming like that when I caught her, you know, faking that abuse by my stepdad, which was a huge turning point in my life. That's when, you know, everything shifted from her control over me to me, you know, claiming my independence, and standing firm in my truth, and not succumbing to manipulation and lies. Pulling on my ears so hard they felt like they were going to come off, pinching me. And that's all I wrote. And I'm like, man, that's so weird. So I'm laying there for a minute, you know, with my flashlight on my phone, and I'm writing this stuff, and I'm like, that's so weird. That's all that's coming to me. Like, and I didn't, I just thought that, and I was like, man, there's really nothing else coming to me. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to sleep. And man, I turned off my flashlight, laid down, and within minutes I was out. And all of a sudden I woke up, and I'm laying there, you know, I woke up with my eyes closed, and I'm laying there, I'm like, let me go try to go back to sleep. And some said no. And I immediately rolled over and grabbed my phone. And when I did, you know, I rolled over on my back, and not even 2 minutes later, my son called me, my youngest son. And anyways, he was freaking out a little bit, you know, because of something, and he needed some advice, and you know, that fatherly guidance and reassurance, you know. And I told him, I was like, dude, you wouldn't even believe I just woke up not even 2 minutes ago out of a dead sleep, and something told me to stay awake and grab my phone. And he's like, man, isn't that weird, Dad? And anyway, so yeah, I had that conversation with him, and then I was on my. It was a quick conversation, you know, between not even 10 minutes, maybe 5, 8 minutes, and he was going to bed, and I was going back to bed, and I went back to bed, and so now it's like 10:30, between 30, probably close to 11 o'clock, and I fell back asleep. And which again was nice, guys, because I haven't been able to sleep, you know, with headaches, with those weird headaches that came out of nowhere. They were like migraine headaches, but they started in the back, and they just like took over. And yeah, like I said, that I could tell it just came to me like, this is ancestral stuff. You're literally moving these ancestral energies and healing these ancestral energies from you. And I was just like moving so much that it was just getting like clogged up, you know. And I was doing things for that. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing. This video is going to be very long. So my dream, I was in a house. It was a townhouse. It was a 3-story townhouse. And I think I was in the upstairs, and I came down the first story. And then I came down the last story into the basement. As I think I was awoken. It was like I had been awoken from upstairs, and then I just manangled my way downstairs. And my mom was down there. And I came downstairs, and I remember I felt like this presence. Like, I can't remember if a TV was on. I was in like the main room in the basement, and there was like this presence, but it was like really dark. And I was like sort of spooked, and I turned around, and it was her, you know, and I felt like this weird presence. And I'm going to make this known right at the beginning. Like, I say my mom because in physical form it was my mom, but it was like this real evil, bad, like dark energy, like cackle, like hee 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 hee, you know, like evil Jezebel, like really pretty, but evil, you know. And so that when I refer to my mom in this is what was coming out of her. This is like the essence of her, you know. Like, my mom was literally just a vessel, but it feels like because of her consent or not facing things or not healing, that's why she was the vessel for this thing. And that, like, I could, man, I don't want to go into it too much, because it's also like now, and this is why I'm doing this video, to be able to draw these answers out and solve this puzzle, because this has been haunting my family for a long time. And so that's what I speak of when I speak of her throughout this dream scenario. Is I'm not talking directly about her. I'm talking about like her as a vessel for whatever it is, this evil energy. And I spooked her. And I was sort of, but I know she spooked me, and I'm like, you know, okay. And then she's like saying this weird stuff, and I could tell like it was such a sexual thing. Like, the whole energy was just sexual, highly sexually charged. And next thing I know, now, when I woke up, I wrote all this stuff. And as I wrote this next part, I sort of felt like I had it backwards, and I did. And so this is how it happened. And so I was laying on the floor there, right? And it was such a evil sexual energy, and her innuendos or whatever, she was seething. It was like she was seething. It was coming out of her hair and everything, like this like seething sexual energy, like advancement towards me, right? And so like it was like I blocked it out and like laid on the floor, hoping that I could act like I was asleep and it would go away, or it would get the hint that I wanted nothing to do with that, you know, without me saying no, you know. And next thing I know, my mom straddled me from behind and wrapped herself around me and was like breathing heavy on me, like trying to arouse me, and just like grabbing me and everything, you know, and just like moving and moving. I could feel like getting aroused, you know, but like in a way, just like in a natural way of like when you're touched in someone breathing heavy on your neck, like all the energies of like seduction, right? And so man, I was trying to play like dead, like I was still sleeping, right? And I could tell at first when I was getting aroused that she could tell, and it got even more. And that's when like my ears have always been very like my sexual, like you want to arouse me sexually, you lick in my ears. You know, those have always been extremely sexual energy points for me. And so I could tell that she could feel that arousal in me, no matter how deep it was, like she could just pick up on it like a magnet. And so she went straight to my ear, and that's when I knew. I was like, oh wait, I can't even let this get fired up, because she can tell, and I don't want any of this. So like I made it die, and I tried to act like I was sleeping, and like I was, just out of it, and so when I did that, she started getting frustrated that I wasn't moving. And I think she could tell I was shocked and put off by it, the whole thing, and not reacting. And she gave me one final try as she rolled under me, and I went limp. And she made sure, so I'm like laying on top of her, sort of like halfway on her, halfway off of her, because I'm like trying not to even be on her, and she rolled under me. Okay, and then I went limp, and she made sure my hand was laying on her breast. And I could tell she felt so awkward now, because like I was totally not responding. And she could tell that I totally didn't want any of it, but I wasn't verbalizing it. I was just showing it through this action, right? And like she could tell, like, and so she felt like really awkward, like what the fuck, And so she still got no reaction from me, and then she got up and left. And then a man showed up, and it was really weird. Now the light was on in the basement. A man showed up, and it was a really strange character, man. Like, really strange character, like a good looking guy, middle age, slick. He reminded me of like a salesman, right? Like somebody who's been selling their whole life. Like, when you go into his store, he just carries that aura of like confidence that he knows he's going to sell the Eskimo ice, right? That kind of guy. And what was I doing? Oh, yeah. So I had to turn back because I couldn't remember when I woke up if this happened before or that. But yeah, my mom happened before, and then this man showed up, and he was showing signs of sexual advancement and interest in me, right? But he could tell, like he could tell that he was getting nowhere with it quickly, because like I give off this energy of that they can pick up on, that lets them know I can see through their bullshit and through their games and manipulations, right? And so when he figured out, and it was pretty quick, but he tried, he disappeared. He sort of like went upstairs or wherever he went. And then I left, and I went upstairs, and my mom was there, and I think the guy was up there, and they were laughing, and they were looking at me like, sort of like they were plotting and planning, and like, what's in store for you. And they didn't really say anything to me, and I went back downstairs. And it's sort of like the next thing I remember, we were back downstairs, and we were in a back room adjacent to that open big room where the prior shit had taken place. And we were in that room, the door was closed, and the man was in there with us, and the sexual energy was off the charts. And we were like sitting in like this booth type of deal, like a round booth thing, not like a U-shaped booth thing, sort of. In like you see in a restaurant type of deal, but it was really comfy, like a couch type of deal. So maybe it was like one of those big couches. I don't know. But they were, the sexual energy was off the charts, and they were just like, I could tell, trying to get me aroused, trying to get me into it. And I was having none of it. I was just like, what the fuck is going on, man? And that's when I really started becoming aware in this dream, like, what is going on? And so they started having sex. So the lights were on at first, and then all of a sudden the lights went off. And I felt like those energies, like trying to get my energy pulled into it. And like, I was the main focus of this menage a trois. And I refused. I was like sitting up on this booth or chair with them. The guy was sitting next to me, and like my mom was sitting across from us. And so when the lights went off, I think I immediately dropped down on the floor, and like I'm sitting on the floor to make space. And so they started in, but I could feel them drawing me in, but I was refusing. I was again showing no signs of anything, like, and then, they were obviously having sex, and it was dark, and I couldn't see, but I could smell and hear everything, right? And they were in like that booth type table. I laid on my back on the ground, and I heard them climax, and like it was done, but they were like reveling in it, right? And all of a sudden I could feel a female presence over me, her face above mine, her hair dangling on me. She tried to kiss me. I assumed it was my mom, because it was dark, and I pulled away, like still lying there, but pulled away from under her hair. And I could tell she was frustrated and upset when I did that. Man, got cotton mouth. And that's what I'm saying, like moving these energies, like in the physical body. I have to stay hydrated, because it really wears you down, like the way it was showing up, moving through me with those headaches. It's been moving through me with the cotton mouth too, but not this bad. This is like really bad. So I assumed it was mom. I pulled away, still lying there. I could tell she was frustrated, upset. And then so I'm still laying there on my back, and like she moved over and she spit or let flow a substance from her mouth. And I knew immediately it was a mixture of semen and spit, and it dropped on my face and just got like in my mouth and in my nose and in my eyes. And I was disgusted, wiping it off. And then immediately when they saw my disgust, they started laughing, like this evil laugh, man, just like this evilness. Like, and when I say evilness, I don't mean like evil ghost type of thing. I mean like evil, like has been around for millennia type of evil, and like this is like their nature type of thing, And so when these people started laughing, I immediately picked up on my mom and that dude, and I was just so disgusted, so disgusted. I'm wiping this stuff off my face, and I'm just so disgusted. But I heard a third laugh. There was a third person laughing, And it was my daughter. And because she was the one over top of me that did that spittle into my face. And now I went from disgusted to completely shocked. Like, what in the fuck is this, you know? It was my daughter. I was shocked. And I immediately got up, went out of that room, and when I opened the door to go out of the room, I'm back in that main room I was in at the beginning, and there was a big bed laying against the opposite wall, and there was a smaller bed laying, joined up next to it, but, shorter and tiny, just for one person, right next to it. And there was a grandmother, maybe my grandmother, or maybe my daughter's grandmother, or just a grandma type, and not sure, with other what seemed like younger children laying in a large bed. The older woman sitting up with this Jezebel type of energy, staring at me, smiling again with this seething type of evil energy, and fingers grasping the blanket up to her like this, like with like witch fingers, like really long witch fingers, And the kids, there was like 2 on each side, 2 on one side and 3 on the other, or 2 on each side. And they were sort of like fawning at her, and I feel like a couple of them glimpsed my way, but they were like looking at her for approval and just like fawning at her. But her gaze was like completely on me, her attention fully on me, And in the smaller bed, there was an even older, decrepit woman in a nightgown laying in that bed with the same evilness about her, staring at me. But when I looked at her, I could tell she could sense a power in me, and I could feel her recoil. Like, I could feel like her strong energy, but as soon as she could sense mine, like she recoiled, like she couldn't even look at me, and like because she had sat up like I was prey. And when she saw me stare at her and look back at her, she knew who I was, and like she recoiled and like laid down and like back in the bed and laid the blanket over. And as well as that grandma figure could tell too, that the original one in the big bed could tell. There was a bathroom door, so those were against that wall, and then there's a little walkway right there, and with a bathroom door right there. And I went into that bathroom door, and I went in and I locked the door behind me. I was trying to clean my face from the semen and spit, and I sort of remember like trying to turn on the water, but the water faucet wouldn't work, so I was like grabbing a towel and trying to wipe my face off. And then the next thing I know, my daughter busted in the door, and everybody outside, like all those old women, the kids, my mom, that guy, I could hear and feel and just almost picture them all laughing, just cackling and laughing. It's evil shit, right? And when that I could hear them when my daughter busted in the door and everyone laughing. So I backed her out, trying not to be rude or mean. And she was pushing back, but I just pushed her back out. And I was like, look, I need to get cleaned up. You need to give me time. And I closed the door. And as I did, I noticed, it doesn't close properly. That's how she was able to open it. And so I tried blowing my nose. I grabbed some tissue paper and I tried blowing my nose because my nose was just completely clogged, but it wouldn't blow. And because in my right nostril, there was this plug. It was almost like a hairy, gooey, glued together substance that was like a solid plug in my right nostril. And I reached in and I pulled it out. And after I did that, I went outside and I don't even like I opened the bathroom door and it was like I traveled through time to the next floor up back door, like a sliding door. And because I don't remember any of that, but I walked through that back door and closed it behind me and I started walking out and it was like a row of townhouses that I had walked out of. And then it was flat and with a hill that goes down with the road, townhouses down below that, right? And so I started walking across for some reason towards the other row of townhouses. And as I did, I heard something rushing towards me from behind me. And I turned slightly, you know, I turned slightly fearful after what had just happened. Like, oh God, what I guess I went outside as like I'm safe out here, I'm getting a breath of fresh air. I'm getting away from those evil energies. They're not going to follow me. But so I heard that. I turned around slightly fearful after what just happened in the house. It was a large golden retriever with a blue handkerchief around its neck. It was smiling. And before I even saw those details, I knew it was friendly. And a black lab appeared beside it like almost immediately. And as I turned back in the direction I was originally headed, they came on either side of me, walking with me. And I could tell, like, we knew each other. And, like, they were there for me. And, like, we were a part of each other. Like, we were a team, And so we're walking a few steps further, and there were two more dogs up in front of us, beefy guard type dogs. We were on a hill between the rows of townhouses. I'm not sure if these dogs were bad or good, just seemed to be guarding from people going down the hill. I had a sense that they were standing down submissive when they realized the trio in front of them. So there was like this telepathic communication with the two dogs beside me, like, what do you want to do? What's your choice? And I woke up. Immediately went into moving energies. I'm moving these energies because they were definitely ancestral. Because I almost was like frozen. You know how you get frozen in this shit and you're like, oh my God, let me just go back to bed and fucking put this behind me. But I immediately jumped up in my bed because I was like, no, because I've been working on my energy, on these gifts that I have of moving energies and transmuting energies. And so I started moving these energies through me and transmuting them. And like I said, it was definitely ancestral. It was definitely lineage. It was definitely passed down. It was definitely hanging on my family through the generations. Like I said, not only my mom's side of the family, but my daughter's side of the family was involved too. Like, this energy had not only ran through my mom's side of the family, but through my first wife's side of the family. And so I went to pee, and then I immediately came back, and then I was going to lay down and go to sleep because it's like, okay, let me get, what the fuck? But I laid down, and I immediately jumped back up and started writing. That's when I wrote this. And so looking back, as I just now read that, as I read that, I almost feel like I remember, like I have this remembrance of coming, like when that dream originally started, I actually passed by those two guard dogs coming the opposite direction from up the hill and into that house through that sliding door. And that's when that all started. Um, I mean, this is a pretty good breakdown. It definitely ancestral. Definitely, like I said, these women, because the grandma in the bed almost reminded me of my mother-in-law, my mom, my first wife's mom, who was a very again not evil person, but very sexually. See, and I see the resemblances in my mom and her now, and I've never ever ever put those two together in my mind, and I'm seeing now the resemblances of that energy in the two of them. That very narcissistic, sexual, vain, seductive Jezebel, but it's more than a Jezebel. It's a deeper, darker. It's a. I want to say Lilith. I don't know why Lilith keeps coming to my mind, but I don't know why that's coming to my mind. I'm not even sure. I know I've heard many times who Lilith is. I just can't remember who Lilith is, so I don't know if that's correct. But putting that out there because it popped in my mind several times now. So I think I am gonna make this public because this is something that likes to be hidden and not talked about. It's something that draws its powers and energies from being able to act like it doesn't exist or act like the face of it, which is really pretty and seemingly innocent. But the reality, the unspoken truth of it is it's vain and succubus like and seductive and in it for their own, yeah, like a succubus, like just there to pull that energy and draw that energy. So I think, yes, I'm going to post this. And the reason being is because I feel that there are other people who this might be able to spark a remembrance in, or they might already have remembrance by the time they get to this point in the video. And again, these energies, I can tell that they exist only because they are not, the light is not shown on them. Like the men who do indulge in these energies for their own satisfaction are being eaten away, like their souls being taken from them. And so what's done in the dark, right? And so by shining a light on this whole situation, how these whole energies work, how the men who give into these energies, like me throughout my life, having that sexual addiction, other people, men in my family giving in. So yeah, I think this is an important video. The more I talk, the more I'm unlocking the many tangled webs that this has woven. And yeah, I'm going to put this out there. Feel free to leave your comments you know, if you feel called. You can email me, richardswink@icloud.com, if you feel more comfortable doing that, or if you feel like doing that. Like I said, I mean, it's probably 2:30 in the morning right now. Wow. Wow. Wasn't expecting this. Like I said, moving those ancestral, I knew what that headache was caused from moving ancestral energies, and then this happened tonight, and the next night, and I'm really tight back here again, and extremely dried out and thirsty. So, yeah, in the name of disclosure, in the name of truth, in the name of authenticity, in the name of exposing the darkness, exposing the evilness, exposing those things that only survive by manipulation and seduction and lies, and by shining that light, by exposing that truth, by doing that, I feel that it's I just literally got like, the witch uh crumbling. I'm melting. That's what I got. So, and that's how easy, guys, these evil things are to defeat. They just need to be addressed, acknowledged, recognized, faced, and then a physical action taking place. I did the energy movement, I did the energy, I did the transmuting of the energies. I got it out of me. I wrote it down. After writing it down, and I was like, man, do I want to make a video? I was like, yes, I need to make a video. I don't know if I'm going to post it, but I need to make a video so that way I can work through this. I made the video, and then by the end of the video, I'm like, okay, it needs to go public for this reason. So, and this is how these things are defeated, because if I would have just went back to bed, this would have stayed with me. This would have still had that power over me, because even though I didn't succumb to any of this, there still would have been that subconscious fear, that subconscious, weakness about me that, oh my God, what if this pops up again, or whatever it might be. And instead of succumbing to that and taking these actions in this world and doing these things and now getting them out there, they're exposed and their energy's gone. The witch has melted, So hopefully this helps some people. I mean, I feel like this this evilness that I'm talking of is present in a lot of lineages and families, So yeah, hopefully, my intention, I'm setting this intention that this reaches exactly who it needs to reach, for healing to take place and reclamation of truth and authenticity, and to give those strength that need it. And I love you guys, and take care of yourselves. Nobody else will.